It's opening night of a brand new building, so I am running everywhere,
Right.
making sure that I'm going to run in and see my wife and my daughter who has just been born. So I run up to this suite, I open the door, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is holding my baby.
Like it's his own.
Like it's his own. And I'm like...
All right, guys, thanks for coming back to Feed My Pockets Entertainment. I have another one. It's going to be actually a little bit different dynamic, but I wanted to get this guy in here for multiple reasons, just for the backseat of how the Timberwolves works for tickets and so forth down the line. So today I have Carl, VP of Ticket Sales for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm super excited to have you on, brother. I appreciate you coming through.
Thanks for having me.
I just wanted to bring you on because I want to show people the dynamic of what happens behind the scenes. And, everybody wants to know about players and so forth, but what happens behind the scenes.
Yeah, happy to talk about it.
Obviously you're up there in the rankings of seeing things and so forth down the line of how things work. To me, it's really important to show that because it's not just about the players. It's just not about the franchise. It's about the employees and the people that are pushing and doing their thing behind the scenes too. So being a season ticket holder for multiple years that I've been at, we've kind of met through that whole situation and transactions of me going to the games and so forth. And I felt like it was the right person and the right time to bring you on here and shoot the shit. And
yeah, no, man, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah.
Like, I love your setup. I love what you're trying to do. And
yeah,
I love the passion and enthusiasm you bring to it. So.
Yes, it's been a while. You're one of the ones that I've known about this for quite some time. And always, you've supported the shit out of me for doing this. So yeah, that's, another reason why I wanted to get you on here too, was because you supported me and you were like, hey man, I'm down. And I was like, absolutely, got to do it. So this is Carl, Minnesota Timberwolves, VP Ticket Sales. What got you into doing ticket sales? Like, how long have you been doing it? Where did you start? And, your passion for it? I've
been doing it a while now. Did not set out on this path. So my initial path in college is on the medical side. I went to school to be an athletic trainer, and I thought that was going to be my life. Yeah. And I grew up outside Milwaukee, but I came to the University of Minnesota. And I got to be a student athletic trainer and degree in kinesiology. But while I was a student athletic trainer, I actually got like real life experience. And I got to be a trainer for the Gophers, their football team, their baseball team, their basketball team. And I realized like, I enjoy this, but I don't think I'm passionate about this. Right. And like, I don't think I can spend the next 30, 40 years of my life being an athletic trainer. Why is that? What was making you second guess that from something that you went to college for, but then all of a sudden you were like, well, I don't know if this is for me. It's a great question. It's personal fit, and for me, there was so many challenges of being an athletic trainer at that level. Yeah. Because you're the first one there, you're the last to leave. Yeah. The hours are insane. There's challenges too, where like the athletes, they think you're trying to keep them off the field. Yep. You're just trying to keep them healthy. Yep. Same thing with coaches. Yeah. And then even same thing with doctors, like you're following their order. So you're this middle person trying to make it all work. And again, I loved it. I have some incredible experiences. Yeah. And my hat off to the people that do that for a living. Yeah. I just felt like it wasn't where my path was taking me. Where you thought it might. Where I thought it might. Yeah. I was so fortunate that I had that experience, like that I didn't graduate and enter the real world to have that oh shit moment. Yeah. Yeah. But I had that oh shit moment when I was in college. I'm like, what am I going to do with this degree? And I didn't know. Yeah. So I stayed at Minnesota to get my master's degree in education, just honestly as a stalling tactic to figure out what I want to do with my life. Yeah. Nothing like taking out tens of thousands of dollars in loans to figure out your life. Yeah. Typical though. Yeah. But while I was doing grad school, I got an internship with the Timberwolves. And it wasn't glamorous. I got to come in on game days, and they host elementary, middle school, and high school basketball games on their court in the afternoon before Timberwolves games. My job was to come in and set up the water coolers, put out towels, and then I would run the scoreboard, and then they would actually have me announce games. I didn't grow up playing basketball, wasn't my sport. I knew nothing about the Timberwolves. I needed an internship to graduate. Right. Yep. So I came in, I did my time, but as I did, I had this aha moment. Like, that's when I got to meet the people that worked in the front office. Yeah. And I had this like sport management degree, but like I didn't know what that meant. Right. And now I met salespeople and marketing and community relations and game operations and all this stuff. And as I got to meet the salespeople, I was like, wait, you get paid to talk about sports. That's your job as a salesperson.
Right.
You talk all day about basketball.
Yep.
I'm like, I don't know if I can be good at that, but I want to try it.
Yep.
I want to try it. And when I graduated, the Timberwolves weren't hiring. So I was tenacious. I think I applied to almost 500 jobs in the sports industry.
Holy shit.
And I think I only got like 3 callbacks for interviews.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's a very difficult industry to get into.
Yeah.
But once you're in it, it's like a small
community.
It really is. But I was very fortunate. I got hired. The Cleveland Cavaliers were starting a brand new entry-level sales program. And I was one of 12 people hired into that.
Wow.
And that launched my career.
So you upped and moved from Minnesota to go to Cleveland.
Cleveland. Didn't know a single person in Ohio. And the job did not pay well. No benefits.
They didn't pay for you to move there.
Of course not.
No, guys.
Of course
not. Some of that stuff is, high up type stuff.
No, and back then it was like you had to wear a suit and tie every day. I didn't own any suits.
Right.
So I maxed out the credit card to get some suits, to rent a U-Haul to get me there. It paid below poverty level wages.
Wow.
And the Cavaliers were dead last in the league in attendance, in revenue, in wins.
Yeah.
So it was a difficult product to sell.
Right.
But it was an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I just said to myself, I'm going to give it a year.
Yep.
And I'm going to see what I can do with my life.
Sometimes you got to go backwards to go forwards, right? I hate to say it like that, but sometimes you got to start at that lowest level of the totem pole to work your way up to the top.
You do. And it was my first job out of college. I didn't know any better.
Right.
So when I came in, you're like, no, you have to make 100 calls a day. You don't get any time off.
Right.
There's no holidays. You're like, oh, this is the real world.
Yep.
And I'm going to step into it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give it everything. And I did. And I realized of the 12 people, they were very clear. Like, we might promote 2 of you after a year. We might help 2 or 3 of you find another job. And for everybody else, thanks for playing. And
wow, so you weren't even guaranteed. So you're up, leaving Minneapolis, going to Cleveland, not even guaranteed a job the following year.
Not at all.
You're like, I'm doing this. I'm going to be lights out and it's over. But you were determined, right?
I was determined. But I got there and I realized, like, to some people, sales comes naturally.
Right. I agree with that.
They can just talk to anybody.
Yeah. Some people can sell you a cracker.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true.
Like in Tommy Boy, like ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves, or iced Eskimos, the book. But like, that wasn't me. I was not charismatic. So I just knew, like, I can't do what those guys are doing.
Right.
I'm going to have to work harder than they do.
Yep.
So if they're making 100 calls a day, I got to make 120 calls a day.
Yeah.
Or I got to find some target markets that I can be successful in.
And you obviously made that happen.
I did. So I gravitated towards, there's multiple ticket products in the league, in the industry. So there's season tickets and partial plans. My early focus was groups. I gravitated towards groups. I wanted to get youth basketball teams out, and I was a Cub Scout growing up. So I worked with, let's get these Cub Scout groups out.
Yep.
And those court times, those kids games that I was an intern for in Minnesota.
Yeah.
No one was focusing on them in Cleveland.
And why was that? Just because they were trying to save their jobs by trying to get tickets?
No, it's just the way like the business is set up.
Yeah.
Everyone has their focus. And, that one is a cumbersome product, to book court time and
yeah,
all the stuff that comes with it, trying to get high school teams to agree to move there's so many challenges.
So much, yeah.
But I'm like, it's an opportunity. To me, that was unsold inventory.
Yeah.
And that's my job.
And you went after that because you saw nobody else was going to do it.
No one else was doing it. And then at the time, they didn't have a database of coaches.
Right.
So I came in every Saturday and I made my own database of coaches.
Yeah.
I Googled the heck out of the whole state of Ohio. And then, in my first year, I think I sold 50 court times, and they'd only sold like 15 the year before.
Wow.
And then in a couple of years, I was doing close to 100 court times a year. And that's what got me out of the entry level team. And I eventually got promoted to the group sales team full time. Yep. And fortunate, I got to spend 10 years within the Cavaliers organization. Got to learn so much, because during that time, it wasn't just Cavaliers, which we got LeBron during that time, which changed everything.
Yeah. Obviously, that's going to make everybody's job easier, right?
But we had a minor league hockey team. We had an arena football league team. We launched a G League team. And then I was working all the arena shows. So Disney on Ice, monster trucks, rodeo. Like I learned how to sell every type of entertainment product you can think of. Yeah. And I just cut my teeth. I loved it.
So when LeBron James came, you guys picked him out of the lottery, correct?
Yep.
you guys picked up, ticket sales are going crazy. How was your promotion at that time when you sold the tickets?
I want to share a quick story of that night.
Yes.
So the night of the lottery, the Cavaliers, we got a chance to get the one pick. And everyone knows if we get the one pick, the hometown kid is coming to Cleveland.
Yeah.
And it's this perfect storm because the Cavaliers had been so bad that they had over 10,000 seats available to sell 2 season tickets, right? Perfect storm.
Right.
Well, night of the lottery, I was on an airplane back to my college roommate's wedding. I land, I make a phone call going, hey, what happened in the lottery? And they're like, we got it. And the phones blew up that night. The average sales rep, again, I was making $13,000 a year in Cleveland. That's how much it paid.
Yeah.
The average sales rep that was in the office the night of the lottery made almost $100,000 in commission that night. Like 10 years salary.
Yeah. Yeah.
In one night.
So that
I made 0.
Yeah. So that wedding was well worth it.
I made 0. I was in my, but you know what? He's still one of my best friends to this day.
Yeah.
They're still married, which is amazing. And it worked out for me in the long run, but like, it was crazy. That was a once, not a like generational moment.
You didn't even have the technology like you have now then. So you it's not like you could keep up the tabs of what was happening.
No, like,
you found out after you got off the plane.
Yeah, because this was 2002, 2003, we got LeBron.
Yeah.
So like internet on the phone wasn't a thing.
Right.
So like you had to call.
Right.
And even selling tickets, like you couldn't just really go online and buy season tickets. You had to call a human being.
Yeah.
And the sales reps were just processing. But for me in the group world, it still changed everything.
Yep.
It still changed everything and launched my career. And I loved every second of it. And I got to grow and experience the highs of taking a team from being in the basement to being at the top.
Right.
And then, sports is a roller coaster.
Absolutely.
And all the teams I've been with, I've experienced that. And it taught you control the controllables.
Yeah.
I can't control wins and losses. I can't control player movement. But if I control my part of the business,
right,
then I'm going to be successful no matter what's happening on the court.
Yep. Exactly. So you leave Cleveland, they win a championship.
Yeah.
You go to...
Well, real quick, why I left Cleveland. So like I was there for 10 years.
Yep.
And after 7 years of selling, I knew I wanted that next step in my career.
Yep. Okay.
And I was fortunate. I got to stay in the organization. And I went to the Lake Erie Monsters minor league hockey team.
Yes.
So that I become a manager. I wanted to manage a group sales team. People who don't work in the industry, like my parents, they're like, wait, you're leaving LeBron James.
Right.
You're leaving the most recognizable team on the planet right now to go to a minor league hockey team. I said, yes, because it is a step up in my career.
Right.
And what you said earlier, sometimes you got to take a step back down. So I took a pay cut.
Yep.
Because I wanted that next step.
Right.
I cut my teeth, got a couple of years of managerial experience, and I realized I like this. I want to be a people leader. And so that's why I ultimately left when a job at the Columbus Blue Jackets in the NHL opened up to become a group director down there. So going from the NBA to NHL, mm-hmm.
What is the dynamic difference there? I mean, that's 2 completely different crowds, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hockey,
yes and no. I mean, sports fans are sports fans.
Yeah.
Right.
Like hockey here and basketball here, it's like there's 2 different people. You know what I mean? So you go from the NBA to the NHL to the Blue Jackets. How did that pan out?
It was fine. I mean, the sales process is sales process. Whether I'm selling a sports ticket or a phone, it doesn't matter what I'm selling you.
Right.
If I get to know the prospect and their needs and their wants, then I can give them the right product.
Okay, fair enough.
And maybe it's not my product.
Right.
The NHL, where I feel is a little different, was like the NBA has a lot of corporate dollars. Like especially the down low seats, businesses are buying those seats, they're using for their employees, entertaining people. The NHL, in my experience, was more fan-driven.
I agree with that 100%.
People are just passionate about the sport.
Yep.
So that changes your approach to prospecting.
Yep.
Who you're calling, who you're going after. And I'm sorry, I missed the other part of the question.
So you went from the Blue Jackets. What was like the dynamic difference? Obviously, like you said, it was, corporates in NBA. I mean, don't get me wrong, corporates in NHL too, but they're going to do the sweet life. They're going to do different things, but it's more passionate fans.
It is
in the NHL.
It is. The challenge I faced when I got to the Blue Jackets was just timing. I get down there, and the guy that hired me, He used to work with me at the Cavaliers. He hires me. He's like, you and I, man, we're going to revolutionize this place. He left 3 months after I got there.
Oh, man.
He got his dream job in the NFL.
Okay.
So he was gone. So my system of support was gone. That being said, I'm not a quitter. We're going to make this work.
Right. Do you think that helped you?
It pushed me.
Yeah.
Like I don't have someone to fall back on.
Correct.
But then the NHL locked out that season.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going into the season and we lost half of our season.
Yep.
And then we were supposed to host the All-Star game that year. They canceled it. So there's all these challenges that were baked in. But again, we're going to make it work. And when we came out of the lockout, we still set group records for the number of deposits and tickets. In half of a season, we found success. But I could tell, like it didn't align with where I wanted to go.
Yep.
So it honestly, it opened the door through a series of networking and connections that I had that got me to my next job, which was I got to go home and I got to go to the Milwaukee Bucks. And, you know, and sports is a weird industry, right? Because like you have to go where the opportunities are.
Absolutely.
You have to be willing. Some people are fortunate. They could stay with the same team their whole life.
Yeah.
A lot of times you want to move from management, you have to move from city to city.
Right.
And it's rare that you get to go to your hometown.
Yeah.
So I took a job at the Bucks and ended up working great. Loved it there.
And there again, you moved from Columbus, you moved all the way back to Milwaukee.
Moved from Columbus. And at this time now I'm married.
Yep.
So, you know, it's not just my life anymore. I'm disrupting my wife's life and my family's life.
Because she was actually in the sports field as well.
She was. She worked game presentation for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah. And she was there almost 10 years as well. So that's why I think we were able to make these moves, because like she knows the industry. Right. And she was supportive of it and she knows what it takes to move up.
Yeah, that's especially the sports. I mean, that's huge to understand your significant other, their roles or where they want to be. And she understands that you want to make more money for the family and so forth. So to have that support behind you and the knowledge and understanding is second to none. I mean, that's cool.
I married the greatest woman in the world. Yeah. She's a way bigger sports fan than I am.
Oh, yes.
Like,
yes, she is.
Like you know this, but like she's at every single game.
Yeah.
And she brings our daughter to every single game.
This cheerleader.
Yeah. She lives this. She breathes this.
I mean, I think she's actually going to be a cheerleader for a sports team.
My daughter?
I feel like she is.
Well, my first year here, the Timberwolves dancers used to dance on the platforms behind the sections.
Yep.
And during every timeout, my daughter, who was 5 at the time, stood on the platform and danced with them.
Knew the routines.
Yep, knew the routines.
To a T.
Yeah. To her, this is normal.
Right.
You know, going to sports games is normal for her.
Because she's raised in it, right?
Yeah.
So she's so used to it that I think she's gonna do really well in the cheerleading and so forth. Because she just loves it. You can tell she's got a passion for it already.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But no, my wife supported. We moved to Milwaukee and I had a chance to become the group sales director for the Milwaukee Bucks. And that was presented as a challenge because the Bucks were almost the same situation as Cavaliers. Dead last in standings, dead last in revenue, dead last in attendance. And the pitch to me was like, the Bucks are a 50-year-old franchise. We have to treat it like a startup. So like, let's build this thing from the ground up. So they brought in some people from other teams from outside Milwaukee and said, we're going to come here and rebuild this thing. And, you know, my boss, when she hired me, she's like, this is going to be the hardest year of your life, but I'm going to give you everything you need to be successful.
That's huge.
And let's do it.
Yeah.
And she lived up to that promise and new resources, more like quadrupled the size of our staff. And we were building to success. And then fate stepped in and we got a new ownership group, which just amplified our ability to grow.
Correct.
And then Giannis, we get Giannis and he turns into Giannis, which when we drafted him, no one knew what this skinny kid from Greece was going to do. Right.
Tall skeleton.
Yeah. And then he just developed and then it turned into, we get a new stadium.
So was your ticket sales was it like when LeBron came in, you just sold a bunch of tickets when Giannis came in? Or did it take a couple of years for him to develop and people to actually see him do something on the court when LeBron came in?
Yeah, the complete opposite of LeBron.
Yeah.
They're like, you drafted a kid whose name that no one can pronounce, who weighs 120 pounds.
Yep.
That, you know, like, what have you done to our franchise? Because again, not to bam, but the Bucks had a series of a lot of misses on their draft picks, right? And they thought, here's another one.
Yeah, Minnesota's not too far behind.
Yeah. And so this was a slow build.
Right.
It was a slow build. I think what gave us the most leverage was announcing a new stadium. Because regardless of how good or bad the team is, people want to see a new building.
Correct, yeah.
And then timing just worked out.
Yep.
That when the new building opened, the team was already on this upward trajectory.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing.
So it all came together.
It did.
Right in the same lane.
Absolutely did.
So you were with the Bucks for how long?
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah. So timing is fun. Like I was there timing like on the rise of LeBron in Cleveland, the rise of Milwaukee. But as soon as I left Cleveland, they win the championship.
Right.
Milwaukee for 7 years. As soon as I leave Milwaukee, championship.
So that's 2 guys.
That's
so
2.
What's that telling you?
It's 3. Because when I left Cleveland, the hockey team I worked for, they also won the championship.
So 3 rings, he could be almost as good as Mahomes. But
again, I don't control that.
Right.
I want jewelry. Everybody wants jewelry, but that's not up to me.
Right. You
know?
Yep.
Yeah, my championship is hitting my sales goals and setting franchise records, which I've been very fortunate that the teams I've been a part of have done that.
That's awesome news, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
I love it.
There's a lot of work to it. I mean, there's a lot of people don't understand that just because basketball season's over, your job is not over. Your job is actually just beginning.
Every now and then people be like, "Are you guys like teachers?
Right?
Like, do you just get the summers off?"
Because I totally thought, I even asked you that one day. I was like, so, because when we were going to hang out in the summer, I was like, well, you got all kinds of time. And you just looked at me like, no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
We have to season tickets.
Right.
You get the whole season. That means it needs to be sold before the season starts.
Right.
Yep. So all of our work is done in the off season.
Yeah.
And then on the group sales side of things, we're the ones who help book halftime shows and national anthem groups and color guards and all those things. That all has to be done before the home opener.
For every game.
We try to get as many games done as possible. There's always going to be in-season selling.
Yep.
But an ideal scenario is like, we got the season planned.
Right.
Let's roll.
Yep. So there's no hiccups, because you don't want those.
So we are... It's a very strange dynamic how it is in sales because like when we're in season, it's very service mode.
Yep.
Because I'm still trying to find new business, but I got to take care of the hundreds of people, thousands of people that we've sold to.
Right.
Make sure they're having a good time.
Yep.
Season ticket holders love their experience.
Yep.
But then in the off season, it becomes full sales mode. We have to go out and find those people.
Right.
So it's lots of phone calls.
And they're not showing up to the center anymore. So now you got to physically reach out to them.
Yep. We got to go
via
to them.
email, phone, whatever the case may be. You got to track them down. Where if we're coming to the game, you see us in person, you could talk to them in person, and so forth to try to lock it in at that point. But
so we'll create events, like we'll host happy hours, and like we'll leverage like we have season tickets with the Twins and other sports teams to like use summertime activities to get face to face with people.
Right.
And we'll do open houses at our arena to get people down.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it's grinding. It's
a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
A lot of hours.
I like to tell people like when you come to a game, you won't, if we're doing our job well, you don't even know we're there.
Right.
You show up and, as one of my coworkers loves to say, the food's hot, the beer's cold, the game is exciting, and it's entertaining.
Yes.
And your seat works. Everything is fine.
Right. Everything is flawless.
Everything's fine, and you don't have to talk to us.
Right. Exactly.
A lot of
that's what you want. You don't want us to have to
want.
reach out to you and talk to you, because if we're reaching out to you, 90% of the time is because we're complaining, right?
Yeah. We're fortunate. Like you are choosing to give up your most precious thing, which is time.
Right.
You're choosing to give up your time and your investment dollars to spend it with us.
Right.
Right? Like, so my job is to make that as pleasurable experience as can be.
Absolutely.
Again, outside of wins and losses.
Yep.
Winning always helps. Let's not sugarcoat that.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
even if we lose, I want you to say like, man, we had fun.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of exciting games, especially this year. We've had a lot of exciting games. We've had some sad ones, but I think that it's just growing pains with the Timberwolves, and we'll figure it out. But so you go from Milwaukee.
Yep.
Go back
to the NHL.
To the NHL.
Yep. So
the Blackhawks.
With the Blackhawks. Milwaukee for 7 years. Absolutely incredible run. Being part of a new building was amazing. My staff was the best. It was the best staff I've ever had.
Yeah.
Like everyone knew their role and everyone functioned. But I kind of reached a plateau.
Right.
And so the Chicago Blackhawks contacted me and they were like, we're going through a change. So they had just come off of an epic run, 3 Stanley Cups, sold out for decades. But they're like, team performance hasn't been what it's been. And the sellout streak is coming to an end.
Because do you feel that at this point in your career, people are starting to notice your name, notice who you are, and that's why these, especially the Blackhawks, for instance, is reaching out to you, is because you have made a name for yourself. Like, hey, Carl has been through this, Carl has been through that, Carl's done this, Carl's built this. Now they're at a bottom low.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait a minute.
It's a strange thing because like I'm not a self-promoter.
Yeah.
And I'm not out there like bragging at all. It's just like when you do good work, you get noticed. And that was me. Like I worked my butt off.
Which is awesome. I mean, that's huge because that's what you were working for. That's what your end goal is, to be noticed and be able for someone to call you and be like, hey, we got this opportunity.
Yeah, I want to lift everybody.
Correct.
And that was the beautiful thing about the NBA. The NBA is amazing at sharing information amongst teams.
Yep.
Like there's a whole division dedicated to best practice sharing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how my name would get out there. But like, hey, this kid in Cleveland, he did this, this, and this.
Right.
Maybe, hey, Portland, you should try this.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's why Chicago called you, wanted to give you that option, was because they heard your name, right? I mean, they're just not going to call you out of the blue.
So Chicago, to that point, they had not had a group sales. They hadn't needed it.
Right.
So they're like, we want to launch a group sales division. So that's what you do. You've done it successfully at a couple of organizations now. Can you come down here and help us do it? I'm like,
pay me. Pay me the money.
It wasn't up. Bit of an upgrade.
Yeah.
Although cost of Chicago living up there. And it wasn't it was an hour drive from my family, so it wasn't bad.
Right.
Just like the timing in Columbus was weird, timing in Chicago was also weird.
Yeah.
I got there in March 2020. I was in the office for 5 days when COVID shut us down.
Completely.
Like we actually had a game that day. So it was the day that the NBA announced we're shutting down games. The NHL had not announced it yet.
Yep.
So we had a game that night. And then we find out, wait, the Bulls have canceled, but we're still here. And then it was rocky time. So my first 18 months in Chicago, I spent in my bedroom on Zoom calls all day.
Which is going to put you in a different dynamic and weird and
it does.
learning experience.
It does. But here's where I'm fortunate that experience happened. Obviously, aside from
absolutely
everything that happened, as it relates to just professional life, my whole identity had been selling groups.
Right.
Now we're in a situation where I can't sell any groups.
Right.
So I had to reshift my mindset and be like, what value can I bring to a team if it's not selling groups? And it expanded my horizons. Like, no, I'm more than that label. I can help in other ways.
Yep.
And that's what opened the door, like ultimately when the Timberwolves called, to not just be a group salesperson, but we want you to help run our season ticket plans, our partial ticket plans, our single game promotions. Can you do all of this? And I said, I feel like I can.
So you were with the Blackhawks for
like 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Yeah, that was a short stint.
Yep.
Timberwolves call you.
Yep.
You get off the phone because at this point you have a daughter.
Yes.
You have a wife.
Yes.
You hang up the phone with them. What's going through your mind at this point? Because you're like, holy shit, this is becoming what I've wanted.
It is. First thing I did was laugh because my wife, incredibly supportive. When I took the job in Chicago, she's like, listen, we've now had to uproot and move to all these different cities. I've supported you at every step. But she goes, can you please, whatever the next job is, can it please be somewhere warm?
Yeah, it's the bold north.
Yeah, she's like, it's time to go south.
Right.
And then I tell her, like, you're not going to believe who just called me.
Was she with you? Or were you by yourself?
Yeah, no, she was with me.
Oh, so
but I'm like, you're not going to believe who just called. The Minnesota Timberwolves. She goes, you got to be kidding me. Like the coldest place on the planet.
But 20 years before that,
she knew that I was an intern here.
Right.
She knew that I went to college here. I still have connections here. My college roommates are still here. I have a cousin lives here. So like, and she was familiar with those people.
Yeah.
And beyond that, she knew like my internship advisor from 20 years ago is still with the Timberwolves. Like, wow. So that speaks to something.
Absolutely.
Right. Like longevity and that camaraderie. Like I'm all about it. So,
right.
And then now, again, it was a chance for career advancement.
Correct.
So she was like, let's do it. Let's do it. And I'm like, all right, let's go.
How many interviews did it take for you to get that position? Or did they were pretty much hiring you right on the spot?
I don't know how it worked on their end, like how many people were in the process. For me, I was contacted by a headhunter, interviewed with them. That led to a video interview with my now boss.
Because you were in Chicago at the time.
I was in Chicago.
Yep.
And again, because I've been doing this long enough, I already had a semi-relationship.
Correct.
With my boss, because he's been in it for a while. So
and that helps. I mean, that
helps. It was because it wasn't an interview.
Right.
It was a conversation.
Yeah. How's life been?
It really was.
Right.
Which led to me flying up here for a face-to-face. And in that one, I had to do like a 90-minute presentation for all the C-suite executives on what my strategy would be with the business, where I felt I could take it, what my strengths were, and then honestly, what my challenges were.
So you had to talk about yourself for 90 minutes?
I did. I did.
I can't stand talking about myself like that for that long, but
well, here's what helped is I've always giving back is big to me.
Right.
And I always try to bring up the next generation. Yep. So like I wouldn't be where I am if I hadn't had some college professors that took notice in me and helped me.
Right.
So throughout my entire career, I've done endless number of guest lectures. Like I speak to a dozen schools a year.
Oh, wow. That's
about
cool.
what I do and what I give back. So in doing that, I have this PowerPoint presentation
where
I talk about my career path.
Right.
So that was actually the foundation for my VP pitch to the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
And, I was very fortunate. They said yes and jumped on board 2.5 years. And now look what's happening again.
Right.
I get here. A little different than Cleveland and Milwaukee in that the team is not in the basement. When I got here, like we've made playoffs.
Yep.
The play-in, outright getting in, team is on the rise. So I don't have to come in and build something from the ground up.
Right.
I have to take something that's already functioning at a high level and how do we polish it?
Right.
Because sometimes it's easier to get from here to here.
Right.
Than it is to get that last 5%.
Yep, exactly.
And they're like, hey, focus on that last 5% for
And
us.
the reason you're not at that last 5% is because it is difficult and it's hard to try to get, like you said, polish it to that 5%. That's huge.
It is.
And when you have been the person to take it from the bottom to that last 5% every time, now you're elevating your own self and learning your own self how to do so, but yet teaching your team how to do that as well.
Yep. And it's been great. I've had great support here because this was new to me.
Right.
I said earlier, I've only known groups.
Yep.
So I'd never put together a season ticket plan in my life.
Yep.
But everyone here has been so supportive. Like that was one of the appeals of taking this job is when I interviewed here, I knew the Timberwolves have a championship culture in their front office.
Right.
Again, regardless of what's happening on the court, they are set up to win internally.
Yeah.
And in my journeys, I've seen enough to know that not every team is like that.
Right. And so, I think that only sets you up for more success, right? Mm-hmm. Is when you're coming on to something to where you're trying to get that last 5%. You've already seen this stuff here, but then not only do you see that, but you see the front office with the support. You see the front office as a family, and you're like, this is comfortable. Mm-hmm. Let's rock. Absolutely. And they're supporting you from the start. To get to that extra 5%. That's huge because I feel like a lot of corporations get so big, and this isn't a corporation, I guess it's a franchise, I guess you can say, but in its sports. But coming from my angle, sometimes corporate gets lost. Mm-hmm. There's so many people trying to run a train, and there's not enough operators to run that train.
And it's hard when you scale up.
Right.
And I did that in Cleveland and Milwaukee, and we've done it here. I've only been here 2.5 years. I think our staff has more than doubled in those 2.5 years.
Is that because the ticket sales have gone up too? Like you've sold, you guys have sold what, 2 years in a row now?
We sold out every game now for 2 years. Well, this season, all of last season, and we will sell out every game this season.
So that is the first time in since Garnett eras, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember when I first started going to the Wolves, it was like you talked and it echoed.
Yeah. Well, to your question though, no, we didn't grow that size because ticket sales were growing that well. We grew that size because they weren't. Because before this team really started ramping up, we're like, we still have a semi-empty building upstairs.
Right. Yep.
So we need more people.
And you were saying that we're one of the only stadiums that has more seating upstairs than we do downstairs.
I believe it's called an upside down arena. I believe we're the only one left in the NBA.
What is obviously, I'm not trying to be whatever. I've never sat upstairs. So I don't know what the scenery is up there, but just trying to come to me myself saying, we only got seats upstairs on the second level. I'm already telling you, no, I don't want tickets. I'm not going to sign up for that. How do you present that to somebody like myself, knowing I'm bougie and I'm going to sit down on the lower level?
Yeah.
because there's going to be guys like me, right? There's going to be families like me that are going to say that to you. How do you present it to them? Like, look, this is a step to get into the on the list.
It depends where your business is at. Where our business is right now.
Yeah.
If you want lower bowl, you can't get it.
Right. Yep.
So coming out of the Western Conference Finals last year, we sold out the entire lower bowl to memberships.
Yep.
So now if you want it, now it's no longer about location, it's about access.
Isn't that crazy?
That's what I experienced in Cleveland too. Like when I sold groups in Cleveland, we get LeBron. I was given the last 2 rows of the building to sell my groups.
Wow.
And for 10 years, groups could literally sit courtside if they wanted to.
Right.
And you have some people, we lost some people because of that. Like they only wanted that. But there are other people like they've never seen an NBA game before.
Yeah.
They just want to be in the building.
Right.
And when you have a star like Anthony Edwards doing what he does, or, for me being around Giannis and LeBron, like you just want a taste of that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter where you are. You have the ability to say, I was there.
Yeah.
I was there.
I feel like Ant definitely puts himself, and I'm only speaking for myself, but I feel like he puts himself in the fans' shoes. I mean, this guy hits a 3-pointer, he's involving the fans. Mm-hmm. He wins a game, he's involving the fans. He gets a foul, he's involving the fans. I mean, he involves the fans so much live. Now, a TV, when you're at home, sitting on the couch, that's different. But when you're live and you see him in action, it's a completely different thing.
And for me and what I do, it means so much to have players that get it.
Right.
Players that are bought in, that like what Naz Reid does and the community presence and what they're willing to do and put themselves out there.
Right.
It means everything. And it's also why, like, my challenge, my job, I still need people to come see us in person.
Right.
You're right. There's a million different ways to get our content.
Yep. You
could watch it through any platform.
Yep.
I need you to be willing to come downtown.
Right.
And we know you're going to have to pay to park and you're going to, food and beverage. Like there's a cost that comes with the entertainment.
Right. Right.
But we want to put on a show and we're going to tell you it's worth it.
I feel like a lot of the Timberwolves now, we were literally just talking about this. The fans or the Wolves really invite the fans to get into it. I mean, there's been years where the fans literally would sit in their chairs and not even move. There's not, seriously, 10 times a quarter at least that fans, I mean, the whole arena is up and it's like, oh my God, this place is going to explode. And that's because Naz Reid hits a 3 or Rudy Gobert does a dunk. I mean, it is so fan involved. I feel like that atmosphere has changed so dramatically.
That is a decision from the top down.
Right.
We are going to invest in the fan experience.
Yep.
That is why they did the arena renovation years ago. That's why we have state-of-the-art Jumbotron and scoreboard. That's why we have a sound system. That's why we do the in-game contests that we do and the fan cams that we do.
Right.
On my end, on the group sales part of business that I see, we have about 20 different experiences we run every night. Wow. Most people don't even see them. But like at pregame and at halftime, we line up 40 people outside the Timberwolves locker room so they can high-five the players.
Yep. That's awesome. I see that every game. That is so cool. The kids just love that.
We try almost every night. We'll have a youth basketball team stand with our players during the national anthem to give that kid an experience of like, wow, Anthony Edwards put his hand on my shoulder. And, and last night, we had an elementary school choir sing the national anthem.
Yes. That's actually, you guys, the anthem, you guys have a various variety of people that do it. You have singles, you have I've seen Boy Scouts, I've seen so many different people sing the anthem, and they've all been great. But it's like you guys, I mean, I've even seen people come all the way from up north, way up north to come do it. And it's like, wow, that's
awesome. My team. That's my team that's out there booking it. Because you think about someone who's coming from 3-4 hours away.
Right.
They're like, just coming to a game by itself may not be enough for them to invest in a drive and some of them getting a hotel.
Yep.
But you add an experience to it that you're going to get to sing and perform.
Right.
Or a youth dance team is going to dance on the court, or youth basketball team is to play. Then all of a sudden, like, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, they're all coming out. Because my job is to get as many people there.
Right.
So it's a business.
From that group.
Yeah, it's a business. So my job is to sell tickets.
Yep.
So these experiences are a great way to give them extra value and also increase the size of the group that comes out.
I love the experience of Crunch. I'm such a huge Crunch fan. He gets into it so much. Isn't he like usually rated in the top 3 best
He is. I mean, he's been doing it for such a long time, and he's a master. He knows how to work the crowd, get people involved.
Yeah, like the Chick-fil-A thing. Oh my gosh, he gets so into it. It's so awesome. I mean, he takes his shirt off, he's ripping it around, or the dunking that they do. That team that does the dunk. I mean, I've been to quite a few different games around the country or whatever, and I just don't see the entertainment from any other teams.
And again, it speaks to earlier I said this is a championship culture.
Yeah.
That's part of it, is that controlling the controllables.
Yep.
The beautiful thing about basketball compared to like soccer, there's no timeouts.
Right.
The game never stops.
Right.
In basketball, we know we're going to get dozens of time stops throughout the course of the game.
Right.
There is a script for every single game.
Right.
And it is dozens of pages long.
Yes.
That we know every single second basketball is not being played is scripted.
Yeah.
And it's all scripted to entertain the fans.
And they have to read the script because they have to know where to be, when to be, and how to be at that single moment.
It's amazing. If you could put on the headset of our game director, I mean, it's like running the Oscars or the Emmys. It's like ready, camera one, go, ready, camera two. And then you got to be ready to pivot, right? Because like we can know, all right, hey, next time out, we're going to do a read about upcoming shows at our arena. Right. But all of a sudden, right before Nas Reed hits a three and the crowd goes nuts. So like, okay, we can't go to that because that's boring.
Right.
Let's go to like a dance cam. Let's go to something fun or bring the dance team out. Like, because you got to feed off the energy of the crowd.
Right.
So like we have 41 live entertainment events we got to put on every, and this week we had 5 games in 8 days.
Holy.
So you got to think there's, I don't know, 20,000 hot dogs we got to make every single night. Like,
wow.
The prep that goes into that, all the videos you watch, all the songs you hear, all the graphics that go up. Like, there is a team working their butt off behind the scenes.
I mean, it's like a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job.
Everyone is working so hard to deliver that to you, and it's a thankless job and it's a nameless job.
Right.
People don't know we're there.
Right.
But like to see people like hugging and cheering and celebrating. And to know like we had a small part in that, like that's why I do it.
And that's a huge part of the way I want to bring the podcast is showing people and understanding like there's a lot of shit that goes on. It's not just the player stepping on the court, hitting a three or hitting a dunk. It's there's so much. That's like the easy shit.
Yeah.
It's the other stuff before that. What you're doing and what Crunch is doing and what the dance team does. And like you said, the director on the microphone saying camera 1, camera 2, there's so much going on. Is that their job? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I look at it like, wow, that shit is cool because I can't do that. So I look at it as that's unbelievable. Like, how? Like all you just say is wow. When you sit and think about it, nobody thinks about who cooked the hot dogs. Nobody thinks about who's behind the mask of Crunch. Nobody thinks about the dunk team. Nobody thinks about the dancers of how much time that they put into it. And they don't get paid shit.
It's incredible.
And that's just an industry thing. The dancers just in general in sports don't get paid anything, but they are putting a lot of time, a lot of effort, hours at night and so forth on the line to get these setups set. And you watch them and none of them are skipping a beat. There's so much that goes on.
Because we're all bought into it.
Right.
We all want to raise our community up.
Yes.
And we want to be part of it.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to say like they contributed in some way.
Right.
Like we know we're not taking jump shots out there.
No.
But
no, you're taking dunks in the back though.
Yeah.
You really are.
So one of my former coworkers he's a legend is Johnny Greco. And he coined this term, like there are life lifters and there are life savers in this world.
Yep.
We're not lifesavers.
No.
I'm not police, fire, first responders. I'm not physically saving people's lives. But in my role in pro sports, I do have the ability to lift people's lives.
Absolutely.
So I'm not solving society's problems, but if I can take you away from your problems for just a couple hours, then I've done some good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why
I feel like you guys do that for sure.
That's why most nights, like even though I don't need to, a lot of nights I will myself go down to that high five tunnel.
Yeah.
Because almost every night, the players will run through and a kid will come over to me with his hand going, no. I'm like, what's up, buddy? He goes, Anthony Edwards. And he's like, I'm never watching this hand again.
Right,
I'm never watching it. I'm like, that kid is going to remember this moment for the rest of his life.
He's going to tell his kids.
He's going to tell his kids.
Yeah.
And you know what? My team played a small part in making this moment happen.
Right.
And I love that.
Right.
I take that responsibility very seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why you're in that role, right?
Yeah, it's my 10,000th game.
Yeah.
It's that kid's first.
Right.
And it may be his only.
Right.
So how do we make it count?
Right. Yep. And I feel like Ant said that numerous times, even in interviews. I'm not taking a night off if I don't have to, because that person spent money to see me play.
Yeah.
I better be hurt or can't play or super sick, or I'm going to be on the court because that person came to see me play. I think a lot of people respect that, because nowadays with the players and the time they take off because of this or that, general soreness, so forth down the line, I think a lot of players don't even care. They're all about themselves. I feel like a lot of the Timberwolves, I would say pretty much the whole team, does not think that way.
Yeah.
They're there to play, whether I've seen guys hurt. I've seen guys come out of the tunnel 5 minutes after they just rolled their ankle and they're out there shooting a three or busting ass to get it done.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Timberwolves I guess maybe I'm biased a little bit, but the Timberwolves themselves.
I don't know. Timberwolves.
Yeah.
You're not biased at all.
No, I love the Timberwolves, but I feel like this group is down to earth, if that makes sense. This whole team is down to earth. We were literally just talking about this the other night, that you look at a lot of these other teams, you got Tatum, he's down to earth. You got, other players that are down to earth, but then you got other players that think they're above society and this and that. But I feel like as a team, that whole team itself is down to earth. They're not out there being flashy. They're not out there being gangster. They're not out there doing this. They're not out there doing that. They're involved. Even if they're on the bench wearing a sweatsuit, they're involved in the team briefings before the timeout is over. A lot of teams, you don't see that.
Well, sports is a microcosm of society.
Right.
And it's no different than your job.
Right.
You go to your job, there are people that are bought in, are giving their all, and there's some people who don't.
Right.
And most people know that, like, if the more of those people you have in your company,
right,
the more likely you are to fail.
Right.
So you want to surround yourself with good people.
Yeah.
The difference is that we have a national spotlight on our team. Your company may not have national media and international media.
Right.
Analyzing everything that you do.
Yeah.
But it always means a lot when you have players that get it and are bought into it. And that's why I love when a team has a good dynamic of veteran presence and young presence.
Yeah.
Because the veterans, they've been through it.
Yep.
And they'll be like, hey, young buck.
Yeah.
No, go out there, sign that autograph.
Do you feel like that role goes for you too? Because obviously you're gonna be. Are you considered a vet in your role?
I'm old.
So you have young generations now that are coming up where you started, how you started, maybe not to the degree, but they're new.
Yeah.
What do you say to those employees and team members when you're at a meeting and you're like, look, I've been there. I've been below this. How do you cheer them up, or how do you, I guess, praise them, really?
Excuse me. A lesson I got a while ago, there's a guy named Simon Sinek has a book called What's Your Why? And I try to live that. I don't just give directions to people and say, follow them.
Right.
I give the why behind it. So like transparency to me is a big thing. Why are we doing what we're doing? Right. So I don't want people to think like, oh, because you're in this VP title or you're in this role, like no, this is why. I'm like, I explain to them, like, here's why we need to come in and do this. Here's why we're doing this call campaign. Here's why we're activating this. Because I want you to have an ownership stake in it, and I need you to believe it as much as I do.
Right.
Not because I say so, but because you understand how your part in it is contributing.
Yep. Exactly.
Right? And yeah, it's hard to not speak from experience.
Right.
But I have it and be like, well, I'd limit the back in my day stories.
Right. Because I've always said, even like in my career, I always said, I'm never going to be this guy that says 20 years ago, I put this there and did this. Today, I find myself doing it. We'll drive by somewhere and I'll be like, yep,
experience,
that was me.
Experience is a great teacher.
Right.
But also what I love about this industry though, is like, you always have to be adapting and evolving.
Yeah.
Because the industry keeps evolving.
Every day.
So if you, there's a reason like a lot of people don't stay in it forever, because if you stay stagnant, you will get pushed out.
Right.
Technology is always evolving. The fans are always evolving. Personal tastes are always evolving.
Right.
And that's part of the thing I love about it.
Trade deadlines revolve, right?
trading, ownership.
So
There's
we
all
just
these things.
experienced we just experienced the trading deadline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Were there a lot of concerns when in your field, anyways? Was there a lot of concerns that no, but we didn't make a move, or do you really not participate in that stuff, or do you not really hear? Well, I'm not going to re-sign next year because we didn't make any trades. Like, do you hear that stuff
From our fans?
Yeah, from ticket holders, I guess.
It's rare.
Yeah,
it's rare because we're the inner workings of a team.
Yeah.
There is the team side of the business and there's the business side of the business.
Correct.
And we don't cross very often.
Right.
So like, no, the GM doesn't tell me what trades he's about to do.
Right.
Or why he's doing
Yeah.
them. Same thing. I'm not telling him what partial plan campaign I'm about to launch.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
And there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't come up much. Now, obviously, there are big things that happen, like, you know, obviously the Luka Doncic thing that just happened.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty monumental in how
Yeah.
it could disrupt a franchise.
Yep.
So I guarantee those ticket sales people are hearing it
Right.
from their people.
Yeah.
But by and large, when you sell someone a ticket plan, it's because they're a fan.
Right.
They're a fan.
Yeah.
And there's highs, there's lows. And that's part of our job is we want to hear you.
Yeah.
You know, and we are your connection to the team.
At least we don't have to deal with any trades where now the trade has to be undone, and then now the Lakers center has got to go back to the Hornets, right?
Yeah.
All because of injuries that were talked about. But
in our end, what's nice is like we don't really comment on player trades because we have nothing to do with them.
right. Yeah.
You know?
You're learning just as well as we are 90% of the time, especially nowadays.
And everything gets leaked. Everything's out there. And that's one of the challenges for coaching young people.
Right.
Is until you get an official press release from us, it's not real.
Right. Well, you've said that to me numerous times,
Yeah.
you know, about things. And it's like, I would call you right away. Hey, do you hear this? You're like,
No comment.
dude, I don't know nothing, bro. I know
comment.
nothing. You know more than I do.
And I truly don't.
Right.
And that's by design.
Right.
Because like if you got to control the message. And a lot of times there is no message.
Yeah.
The media wants there to be.
Right. Yep.
But
Especially
there
nowadays, if it's on the internet, it's true, right?
Yeah. And again, it doesn't affect my day to day.
Right.
It doesn't.
Yep.
So that's not where I focus.
All right. So you're dealing with ticket sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're doing groups. You're in Minnesota. You've been into some big markets. I don't really want to say celebrities, but what's some of the big name people that you've
It's a high profile
dealt
industry.
with? Yeah.
Okay, I'll preface this saying, not the reason to get into it. Like,
Right.
don't get into this job if you think because you want to hang out with players or celebrities.
Right.
That being said, it's fun to talk about, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
like when your team's doing well, you get to have these really cool interactions.
Yeah.
So obviously one is just on the athlete side.
Right.
So getting to work with LeBron James, amazing. Having the opportunity to meet Michael Jordan. Shaquille O'Neal played for a year in Cleveland when I was there. So I got to meet Shaq. He looked at my apartment when I was moving out.
Nice.
My wife got to give him a tour of our apartment. So the athletes, next level.
Yeah.
Other fun ones like Jay-Z and Beyonce, when they were heavily involved with Brooklyn,
Yeah.
like they would come to games in Cleveland. And so like there were nights I was doing my high five tunnel with the kids and they would come through and high five the kids.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
they'd come before the players or after the players?
Yeah, because if you notice like courtside celebrities, like they're usually like in a back private club.
Yeah.
And then right when the time starts, they'll make their way out to the court.
Correct.
So as the timing was as they were doing that, well, my kids are blocking their seat. So they came through, high-fived all the kids.
Oh, wow.
One of my favorite ones was we were in the Eastern Conference playoffs with the Milwaukee Bucks, and I had a bunch of kids in the back by the locker room waiting to high-five the players at halftime. While we're waiting, Aaron Rodgers and Danica Patrick, who were dating at the time, come through. And, at that time, Aaron Rodgers was a god
Oh, yeah.
to anyone in Wisconsin.
Right.
So these kids are losing it.
Right.
But he stayed, high-fived them all. Then Christian Yelich comes through, who's a player for the Milwaukee Brewers. Loved that. Well, then the TNT guys come through. So Kenny, Charles, Shaq.
Yeah.
They came through and they were so gracious with their time that they took pictures with all the kids and high-fived them.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all right, can't get any better than this or any different than this. And all of a sudden, Gucci Mane comes through. And I'm like,
Gucci Mane.
I have no idea who this is, right? I'm the old guy. I just see a guy with a big chain, and these like 6-year-old kids going, Gucci Mane. And I'm like, I love it. So yeah, I've gotten to meet these people.
Yeah. I know the TNT group, even when they were here last year, I mean, those guys, they took so much time for the fans. They walked through the Target Center. They walked, we partied with them outside of the Target Center, and they were just a blast. They were really good people.
They get it. And every time, like during the playoffs, they will always do like a community event and giving back. So again,
stuff people again don't see, right?
We're in a very fortunate position that we're able to give back to our community.
Yep.
Yeah. Another fun one was, and this one meant a lot to me. So the night that the Milwaukee Bucks opened the new stadium, Fiserv Forum, was very fortunate in that some of the managers' spouses, they put them in a suite for the night. And, it's opening night of a brand new building. So I am running everywhere,
right,
making sure. So at halftime, I've got like a 3-minute window at halftime that I'm going to run in and see my wife and my daughter, who has just been born.
Yeah.
She's an infant.
Yeah.
And so I run up to this suite, I open the door, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is holding my baby.
Like it's his own.
And I'm like, you don't know how to process this?
Yeah. Because that's not what you're expecting.
Well, I've never met Kareem before.
Right.
And, he's 7 feet tall, so he's like huge human being, but two, he's the greatest.
Right.
And he's holding your child. And I was like, and then of course, if you know my wife, she can talk to anybody.
Yes, she can.
So the minute he rolled in, they just started having a great conversation.
Right.
And like she's shuffling the kid, and he's like, I got her, and he takes her. And like we got a picture of him, them together. So like just cool things have happened.
Right.
And again, not why you get into it.
Or looking for it.
We had 50 Cent not too recently. Like he's
actually at the Wolves game quite a bit last year.
Yeah, so he's with a liquor company,
yeah,
and they signed on as a sponsor with the team.
Yeah.
And so he came out for a couple events, but he didn't just do like a photo shoot for the sponsorship. He came up to the sales floor.
Right.
And shook hands with every sales rep, took pictures with my staff. We have a sales bell whenever we have a big sale. He came over, was ringing the bell.
Yeah.
So like that was cool.
Right.
A couple weeks ago, Spike Lee was in my office.
Yeah.
Totally random.
Right.
We were playing the Knicks, and he likes to travel from team to team, and no entourage, no manager, just he came in and could not have been more gracious with his time.
Is he as small as he looks?
I'm 6'4". I'm 6'4", so everyone to me is a little bit shorter. Yeah.
He's pushing a 5'7".
Yeah, he's there, but
he's a real supporter too of the New York Knicks, isn't he?
Huge.
Just New York in general.
And the Liberty.
Yeah.
And the Liberty. And like that's how it came about. Like,
yeah.
He was at the WNBA team I'm with, the Lynx. We were in the WNBA finals this past year. And he was courtside for, Lynx Liberty.
Yeah.
So you come across some incredible people throughout the years. Again, it's not why I do it, but when you find yourself in those situations.
Do you ever find yourself going, I'm not sure what to do with my hands? Because you're so like, it's because you're not looking for it. You're not expecting it. Yeah. But all of a sudden, here comes Beyonce and Jay-Z, and you're like, what the hell is going on here?
It catches you off guard. So again, like I know, like I've sent you some photos, but like the big thing is like I'm there. I have a job to do.
Right.
My job is not to try and chase any type of celebrity.
Right.
So like it's rare that I get a picture with anyone because like the moment has to be right.
Right.
Like I also have to set the tone as a leader.
Correct.
So my job is not to be trying to get selfies with celebrities.
Right.
And I've now done this long enough where like I don't get starstruck very often. Yeah. But I'm a human being.
Right.
So like when Michael Jordan walked into the room changed.
Right. Yeah. You just felt it.
You just felt it. And when I met Shaq, and you're like, this is the largest human being I may ever meet in my entire life. Like,
I actually have a story about Shaq. So I was out in Vegas and I was pissing and in the urinals, and I could literally feel something coming towards me. And I'm like, what in the hell is happening? And I look back and it's Shaq.
Yeah.
And he just like looks up and he just like, what's up? And I literally quit pissing. I was like, I was so starstruck and so like, holy crap, this is Shaq, standing next to me. And he's a big boy.
Yeah.
He's not small. And I quit pissing and I was just like, whoa. And I just zipped up my pants and I left and I walked outside and told my dad, like, yeah, that was Shaq just walked in. He goes, my dad lived out in Vegas. And he goes, yeah. And I was like, yeah. No, what do you mean? Yeah.
Because whether it's celebrity or athletes,
right,
you come to appreciate that they're just people.
Yeah. And they like that.
They're just doing their job.
Right.
So if you're a lot of times behind closed doors and they're allowed to just be themselves.
Right.
They're just people.
Yep.
And a lot of times they're super cool about it. And I'm cycling through the Rolodex of chance encounters. Like we had Jennifer Hudson and Common come out to one of our WA finals games this year.
Yeah.
And, we're in Minnesota. So like the Vikings players, Justin Jefferson's been at a ton of our games.
Yeah, he's a huge supporter for sure.
Yeah, and in Cleveland, like we had some WWE guys that would come out all the time.
Yeah,
and, to me, it's cool,
right?
And I appreciate that they're supporting us.
Yeah,
but again, I've got my job to do. So for me, it's like acknowledge it. I've seen that person before. Okay, back to my job.
Right.
Yeah, but it's fun.
Yep, exactly. Just to see that the difference, and even in Minnesota, right? I mean, nobody wants to come here. It's colder than shit. So when you do get to the Western Conference Finals, we did get those celebrities and various people, Gunna, different people that come out here. And we're all starstruck because we're not used to that up here.
Well, that was my experience in Cleveland. Like we're in Cleveland, Ohio.
Right.
No one's coming to our game.
They even have a gas station in that town.
You might get I love Cleveland.
Right.
I absolutely love it there. It gets such a bad rap, but to the outside world, it's not a hot spot.
Right.
So, but when LeBron became LeBron, we talked about access earlier, like just getting in the building.
Right.
Is all you cared about. The same spread through the celebrity world.
Right.
It was like, there's something happening in Cleveland. Even if I'm not a basketball fan, I want to be a part of it.
Right.
And so we go, I remember once I had to run down to check on a group and there was one empty seat. So I'm going to sit down in the seat so I'm not blocking people's fans or view. I sit down and Lil Wayne is sitting next to me. I'm like, oh, hey.
Getting contact high.
Nice to meet you. Being in Cleveland, it started with, you could tell when things are growing.
Right.
Because we were getting the C-list celebrities first. So we'd have Drew Carey and Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
And, I used to laugh Scott Bakula is coming out or something like that, or Tara Reid. And then all of a sudden it starts growing into the Ludacris's and Ushers. And then, Jay-Z put on a show at one of, in our arena during there was a political campaign. So he put on a free concert.
Oh, wow.
And LeBron's on stage going nuts the whole time. And, it's fun. I'm not going to deny it.
Right.
I don't chase it, but our job's not easy.
Right.
Our job's not easy. We work, it's not labor intensive.
Right.
Clear about that. But our job is to entertain people when they're not at their jobs.
Yeah.
We work nights, we work weekends, we work holidays, we work insane hours.
Yeah.
Why do we do it? Well, we do it because of the camaraderie. I love the people I work with.
Yep.
They motivate me every day. But I'd be lying if I said, these cool experiences didn't also feed into the longevity of a career.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
When fun things like that happen.
Yeah, and there's nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but like you've said, you don't chase it, but you got to experience it, you got to meet some of these people and so forth. So it's a perk.
Had another one, another random one too, Ja Rule is holding my kid.
Oh yeah.
He performed halftime at a Bucks game and, we were waiting for a post-game show. And again, my wife, I was just with her, waiting to leave for the night.
Right.
I'm literally going down just to make sure everything is running smoothly. And all of a sudden, Ja Rule's holding my kid. I'm like, okay, this is weird.
This is not normal.
Not normal, but it's
I'm a salesman.
Yeah. And then, to me, more than the celebrities, to be in the presence of greatness.
Right.
So when I met Oscar Robertson, and know he's one of the greats, and Kareem and Jordan, that's what gets me.
Where would you even start a conversation?
A lot of times you don't. And
you just stare at them.
Yeah. It's one of those, it's a handshake.
Right.
And I appreciate what you gave to the game.
Right.
And what you gave of yourself.
Yeah.
And then it's a respect thing.
Yeah.
And then you move on.
And they know that because they can tell just by your mannerisms, right? That's how I feel, even with a lot of the players that I deal with and talk to and stuff. If you treat them with respect and treat them like a human, they treat you the same way.
Absolutely.
If you're treating them like a fan, you're going to get treated like a fan, which not saying it's different, but it is different because you're treating them like, oh, no. But if you treat them and shake their hands, say what's up, ask them about their life, chill with them, talk to them, they're relaxed.
Yeah.
But when you're just in their face and wanting autographs and pictures and so forth, they're not going to take the time out of their day to go to that extreme that you don't see.
It's a weird life.
Right.
It's a weird life. Like, and the NBA, hockey guys, they can go to the grocery store and no one knows who they are.
Right.
Like they can blend.
Unless they smile.
Yeah.
teeth and shit. Yeah.
And to an extent, NFL guys can too. Yeah. But like, I don't care who you are. If you're 7 feet tall.
Yep. Well, I was standing next to Addison back court. I was standing next to Addison. I didn't even realize it was Addison because he's so small. Mm-hmm. And my buddy goes, "Hey, that's Addison." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "That's Addison." He gets creamed by 300-pound guys. That's Addison. Holy, he's a lot stronger than I thought he was.
Yeah.
Because you expect these guys, and Jefferson the same way. They're not big people. They're tall, but they're not a lineman. So you walk right by them, they look like a normal person.
Yeah,
and and it's like
they are normal people.
Whoa.
We ask them to do superhuman things.
Right.
They're
right.
People.
Yeah. It's cool. It's interesting. That's cool to hear some of the interactions that you have with some of these guys and girls that you've been in the game for a long time. You're gonna have those experiences at some point.
And part of my role, like I'm not in security, but I'm always cognizant of it.
Right.
So like usually when I'm in their presence, it's because I am helping with a fan experience.
Right.
And so it's my job to make sure that we don't bombard these people.
Right.
They're there to have a good time too.
Right.
So like keep it separated unless it is a custom built moment for that kind of interaction.
Yeah. Yeah. And they do have that.
Oh, absolutely.
There's definitely moments for that for
absolutely.
Sure. So a couple pro tips, I guess, that I would ask you for anybody that's watching that wants to be into sales for sports, whether it's NBA, NHL, WNBA, whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. What are some of the tips that you could give, whether it's at an interview or what should they go to college for? Because, like you said, you went to college for sports athletic and you went to school for a couple other things, but what is applicable to being in sales? I mean, obviously business, right?
Yeah. Great question. A lot of different ways I could take it. I'll start by saying only get into sales if you want to be in sales.
Right.
There are some people that say like, oh, that's your best way to get your foot in the door because like half of our full-time positions are in revenue generation.
Right.
So there's the greatest opportunity to get into a team is through sales.
Right.
But if you don't want to sell, well, then you're going to suck at it.
Right.
So
like, you're not going to get promoted. You're not going to
get promoted. Like, how am I going to recommend you for a different job if you're not good in the job you're in?
Right, right.
So only go into it if you're passionate about selling.
Right.
And that doesn't mean selling only sports. You'd be good selling anything.
Right.
And if you get to marry your passion with selling something that you're also passionate about in sports, well, then it's a perfect storm.
Right.
Right. So get into the field you want to be in because that's what you like. Right. So, and I don't care if that's sales, marketing, what doctor, lawyer, name it.
Right.
Get into it because and not just because you like it, but also that your skills apply to it.
Yeah.
You may think you want to go into sales, but to stereotype, if you are a shy introvert, you're probably going to struggle in sales.
Right.
My job is to talk to people I've never spoken to before.
Right.
And to throw myself in uncomfortable conversations and situations. If you're not willing to do that, then as much as you idolize selling, it's going to be tough. So follow your talents.
Right.
And then while you're in school or if you're in your current job thinking about a career change, get some kind of exposure experience in it because you don't know until you're in it.
Right.
Right. So the beauty of like LinkedIn is like you can connect with hundreds of people that work in sales in any given industry.
Yeah.
And you set up a time to talk to them. Hey, can I interview for your class project? You know what you do. If you're in a market with a sports team, can I shadow you for a day?
Yeah.
And see what you do for a living?
So do you guys still do interns? I know somebody was coming off the street saying, hey, I would like to follow you. Or how does that work if someone was going to school and was like, hey, I want to try the Minnesota Timberwolves. Do you guys still have those internships?
We have internship programs. A lot of our interns is like summer-based. But the job I did, like filling coolers for youth basketball games.
Right.
we do that.
Yeah.
So we have like, I think it's like 10 or 15 people that do that. They come in on game days and do that, facilitate that. We people
Wow.
So most of them it's a part-time college job, but it fulfills a requirement.
Right. Okay.
So, and no matter where you live, there's probably like, it doesn't matter the level.
Right.
It's got to be pro. It's got to be pro.
Right.
There is minor leagues. There is collegiate. There is high school. There's so much under the sports umbrella.
Right.
To give you experience.
Yep.
And all of it goes on a resume.
Right.
Because the reality is, like, when I post a sales job for like Timberwolves, for example, we may get upwards of 1,000 resumes in the first week.
Oh.
Right? Every single one of those people graduated college. So where you went to college is not the separator you think it is.
Right.
I want to know, what did you do while you were in school?
Right. Did you go to school?
That got you experience.
Right.
To make you qualified for this job.
Right.
Right. And so even something as simple as like, I shadowed 3 different sports teams. To me, that shows proactive work ethic.
Right.
That no, they've sought this out. And after going through that, they still want to apply.
Right.
Because sports is sexy. Almost everyone wants to be in sports. They think it's going to be cool, but they don't know what the work is.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. They all see the glamour.
Yeah.
You know, and there is no glamour on your end of the fence.
It's
besides walking in going, we filled this stadium.
It's a job.
Yeah.
And sales is hard. Like there's, sales and marketing. Marketing helps get people out to like individual games and get some leads generated.
Yep.
Why we hire salespeople still is because we need a human interaction to get the big deals across the line.
Right.
Most people don't buy $100,000 suite
right.
off the internet.
Right.
They want to talk to someone about it. Right. Yeah. And so we need skilled people to take marketing generates the interest.
Yep.
And how do we take that interest and get them into the right product?
Right.
Right. And so you got to have thick skin in sales. My best salesperson has like a 7% closing rate.
Wow.
That means 93 out of 100 phone calls, he is told no. Right. And he's the best. So like, if you take rejection personally, you will not make it.
Right.
It's hard.
It is.
It is very hard.
When you put it like that, that's a different dynamic for sure.
We're in volume sales.
Right.
We have to get 18,000 plus people every night.
Yep.
And then 2 days later, we got to do it again.
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, we got to do it again.
Right. Or back to back.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's
crazy. Yeah. That's a lot of work, man.
But I love it. I love it. I love what I do.
I cherish everything that you do for us. And I know there's other people that I sit around as well that definitely, it doesn't go unnoticed.
Appreciate that.
On our end, people that are doing single tickets, so forth on the line, but it's the people that where I sit, we are kind of a community. We've all been there for a while. We go to 90% of the games and it's talked about. I mean, obviously, but a lot of the people around definitely are like, wow. And you can notice little changes that happen, and so forth, but we all cherish it from, everybody around me that knew I was going to be doing this with you. We truly appreciate your guys' hard work 24/7.
Thank you.
And walking in there and not having to come and bitch to you guys is huge because that doesn't make it fun for us either.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. But we cherish it and they all wanted you to know that as well. But yeah, I truly appreciate you coming out and talking business type. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, that's what this is about the business behind the scenes type things. And I appreciate you opening up and saying how things work and so forth. But yeah, that is Carl from the Minnesota Timberwolves, VP Sales. Thank you so much for coming out, brother.
Thank you.
Seriously, I appreciate it.
Oh, this is great.
Make sure you guys lock into the Minnesota Timberwolves for the rest of the season. If you guys have any questions, make sure you guys reach out to the sales team. They will get you locked and loaded for the season, half season, single games, whatever the case may be. Numbers all over the internet. Go check it out. Just look up the Minnesota Timberwolves and they'll get you guys locked in. Go Wolves. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe. Make sure you guys hit the like. Also follow me on Instagram, Feed My Pockets. Thank you guys for watching and we're out. SRT.